Hello, everyone. As I get into the program, I would love for you, if you don't mind, put in the chat where you're from, where you're located, where you are, where you work. So just a little bit of introduction, so I can see who is here today. And as you are doing that, I just want to say thank you to Anu for starting this great conference, and thank you for the conference planning committee for organizing this, and thank you for having me here. So today I am going to talk about assessing and enhancing AI literacy in libraries. In the next 35 or 40 minutes or so, here's what I'm going to go over. I will talk a little bit about what is AI, what is generative AI. It's just so that we are on the same page. And then I'm going to go over a little bit about two AI literacy studies that I have done, one last year, one this year, and share a little bit about the key findings and some insights that I had. And then based on those findings, I developed a pilot upskilling program at my university, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And I feel like that's a really good template. Maybe, perhaps you can use it at your own libraries. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, or I would love to hear your thoughts on AI and AI literacy as well. So let's just start by, asking what is AI? I think there are a lot of definitions out there. I don't think there is one agreed upon definition, even among computer scientists. But to me, this one looks pretty good. AI is a broad field of computer science focused on creating systems capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. So these include logical reasoning, learning, problem solving, perception, language understanding. So now we don't have to be computer scientists to learn a little bit about AI or to use AI. But we should understand a little bit about some of its kind of key components. So when people talk about AI, especially let's say in the news or with your colleagues, we kind of know a little bit about, what they're talking about. So here are some of the key components I think we should all at least be aware of and know a little bit about. The one is machine learning. You have probably heard of this term. You have probably seen this because it's really a major component of most AI. And it is basically a subset of AI that involves training algorithms to learn from and make predictions based on data. And there are different techniques like supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And then if you go deeper into machine learning, there's a specialized form called deep learning that uses neural networks with many layers. That's kind of imitates our brain, our human brains, to analyze complex patterns in large data sets. So it's really useful and effective in image and speech recognition. And speaking of image and speech recognition, right now, natural language processing is a big thing, NLP, which enables machines to understand and respond to human language. So there are a lot of applications like language translation, sentiment analysis, and chatbots like ChatGPT, right? And also computer vision, which allows machines to interpret, make decisions based on visual inputs from the world. And this is really important for applications like facial recognition and autonomous vehicles. So these are, I mean, there are more of these, but I think these four key terms, I think we should all at least be aware of. Now, you're probably quite familiar with these. They have been around for a long time. I think Carnegie Mellon developed these over 20 years ago. These are CAPTCHAs, right? Is to test whether we're humans or not. So we can get to that web page or website that we want to get to. But this is actually us, all of us, helping to train AI to do math, to recognize, script or handwriting, to learn how to drive. So machine learning has been with us for a long time. But AI really becomes the center of all attention when OpenAI released ChatGPT to the general public in November 2022. So all of a sudden, the world, not just the tech world, could see the amazing potential of this technology called generative AI. So I'm going to ask you a question. I wonder if we can actually use chat. I don't know. It looks like we can only use Q&A. But let's try this. If you have tried ChatGPT, put yes or no in the chat. And let me ask the organizers, are we able to use the chat? Otherwise, I don't want to have clogged up the Q&A.
I tried to activate, people still cannot use it.
Oh,
What
okay.
they're saying.
Don't worry about it. Hey, why don't you do this? If you have used ChatGPT, use the raise hand, thing, so I can take a look. Okay, I'm looking at the numbers. So 89, really going up, 100 something now, 139. Yeah, a lot of people. I'll say, for people who participate, I see a lot of people have used it. So thank you very much for answering this. And if you have not used it, I would encourage you to just try it out. I mean, it's free. So you know what it is about. And it's kind of difficult to explain because it's such a general purpose tool, but it's very powerful. So powerful that it can, pass exams. You can, you have seen these headlines probably, especially when they first came out. ChatGPT passing exams at law schools or business schools and medical schools even. It's really powerful in that way, and it's changing the way we search for information. But at the same time, it has a lot of issues. You have probably seen these headlines as well, like different companies or individuals suing these tech companies on maybe they're violating copyright laws in using their content without asking for permission or asking for consent. None of these lawsuits have been decided, and I don't think that our current copyright laws are really equipped to deal with it. So there will be there needs to be a lot of catching up, basically. And right now we are in a big gray area. We don't know what is actually legal, what is not, and what they have actually done because we cannot really trace it back. It's quite opaque at this point. But eventually, I think, we will get to a point where, there are, set rules on how we should be conducting AI training, basically. A little bit closer to home, you may have seen these headlines recently too. A lot of publishers, even academic publishers, are really making deals basically with tech companies on licensing their content directly to these AI models, basically. So it's not about, so they're basically thinking, oh, don't steal out, don't, scrape our content. We'll sell it to you in some ways and make agreements in that capacity. So how would that affect us in the library world? How would that affect scholarly communication? We don't know at this point. So it's worthwhile to really pay attention to these developments. And like I said, learn a little bit about what AI is and how, so that we can be part of that conversation to advocate for the future that we want. So ChatGPT is a generative AI basically, and generative AI refers to a kind of AI that's capable of creating new content like text, images, audio, synthetic data. And basically, it learns patterns and structures from large data sets and uses the knowledge to generate content that mimics the original. And so this process will start with a prompt, like a sentence or image or a musical note that allows the AI model to generate new or related outputs, like a full article from a sentence or a unique image based on another. So this is basically machine learning. Generative AI improves its accuracy by learning from large amounts of data and learning the patterns. And there are many applications of generative AI, like in creative industries. You can generate music, artwork, videos, even writing. One AI tool is called Midjourney that generates image. So I play with it a little bit. So I ask it to, hey, make me an image of a baby panda in a infinity pool at the top of a skyscraper. And it did that in like seconds. And I asked it, hey, make a poster for my library. And use a specific, designer style. And it did that. It's like a 70s or 60s Saul Bass style. And then I put my image in there and say, hey, make me into a character in a Pixar movie. And it did that as well. So in a way, it's kind of fun. But there are more serious usage of it. Like, you can software development, for example, you can write codes for people, generate code snippets. It can, for healthcare, you can design new drugs or treatments. In businesses, you can streamline processes through automations on content generation. So it's quite useful. But at the same time, there are a lot of challenges and limitations, like accuracy. Generated content may not always be reliable or factual. You've heard of the term hallucination, right? So we can make up stuff. At the beginning of ChatGPT, when it first came out, we had a lot of people, students, coming into libraries to ask our staff to help them find things that did not exist. We didn't know what's going on at that point. So, but those were teachable moments, but we were not ready to teach. So, that's something to keep in mind. A lot of our users are using AI as well, so we need to be in a position to help them. Another thing, in addition to inaccuracy, is bias. AI can inherit biases from its training data, leading to more biased, output. Also, unpredictability, because these kind of AI are basically statistical models. It predicts the next words or next tokens. So every time is going to be slightly different. So even if you put in the same prompt, the output will be slightly different every single time. So how do you, let's say if you use it in academic work, how do you even cite it, right? And also data dependency, the quality of the generated content really depends heavily on the quality of its training data. So these are some of the things we need to keep in mind. So the key takeaway is, while generative AI is powerful and very versatile, understanding its limitations and using it in a responsible way is really, really important. So I know you cannot type it in the chat, so raise your hands again. Have you ever paid for a premium version of AI tools, like, the pay version, subscription version of ChatGPT or Claude or any of the things that you have to pay a subscription fee? So I'm saying some, a lot less than, people have tried the just regular ChatGPT, like 40 people. So, and so that's good. That's really consistent. And I'll tell you why I asked you this question in a bit. So about 6 months, 7 months after ChatGPT came out, it disrupted education immediately, right? So students can do homework and exams and all of that using ChatGPT, and all the instructors, teachers were kind of panicking. We still are in many ways. So the U.S. Department of Education put out a report on giving some kind of guidance to educators on how they see AI in education. And it's quite interesting report, and I recommend you to take a look at it. Just Google that Department report on AI. But the most important thing I want to stress is that they emphasize the importance of AI literacy for educators, including librarians. So judging from that, we should all learn a little bit about AI literacy. But what is it? What is AI literacy? The report gave maybe a definition. I'm not sure. There are some other definitions out there, but this is mine that I quite like, because I think it covers the things I think it should cover. AI literacy is the ability to understand, use and think critically about AI technologies and their impact on society, ethics, and everyday life. Now, AI literacy is similar to learning the internet when it first emerged. Just like the internet transformed how we communicate, learn, work, AI is going to reshape every part of our lives. You will see AI embedded in all the things that we use. Like my phone now is all of a sudden it's all AI stuff. So we need to understand it. And but understanding AI is like learning the internet. Requires a little bit more than knowing how to use a web browser. It is about understanding a little bit about the technology, a bit about its application, its broader impact, right? So here are some of the key components I think that make up this AI, this thing called AI literacy. We need to have a little bit of technical knowledge, grasp the basic concepts like machine learning, algorithms, data processing, and recognize how AI is used in different fields like healthcare, finance, education, other areas as well. Also, we need to have some kind of ethical awareness and need to identify ethical issues, be aware of concerns like bias, privacy, AI's role in could be job displacement and other areas, understand how to deploy AI ethically with fairness and accountability, right? And critical thinking. I talked about all the hallucinations of AI, how it's not that reliable at this point, at least. So we need to apply critical thinking to evaluate the reliability and biases in AI-generated content. Kind of question the use of AI in a lot of the key areas like governance, education, justice. This is a great opportunity for librarians. We teach information literacy. This is a fantastic application of it in a very, very kind of important aspect in our lives now, in people's lives now. Also, practical skills. We need to learn how to interact with these AI tools, data platforms, generative AI like ChatGPT. We need to adapt to using it in the workplace alongside human skills. And finally, societal impact. Understand how AI can affect social structures and either reinforce inequality or create new opportunities. And I'll put environmental impact as part of this. There are a lot of concerns about AI's impact on the environment. How should we think about it? How can we think about using AI to innovate, to solve problems and drive progress at the same time, understanding its challenges to our society. So I think AI literacy helps individuals make informed decisions, understand the technology's limit and potential, and shape how AI impacts our personal and professional lives. I mentioned I did 2 national surveys. The first one was in May 2023, and the second one just a few months ago, June, July 24. So the first one was about 6 months after ChatGPT came out, and then the second was follow-up. Key motivations, I just want to know the baseline. I want to understand a little bit about where we are, and then use it to identify gaps and opportunities, and using that understanding to support professional development, to design training programs so we can target those areas. And if we can do it on a regular basis, we can benchmark progress. I don't know if we can do that. Can we do a poll if possible? I don't know if you can raise hand on that.
We can do the poll, Dr.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Just
Okay.
spend a minute or so if you don't mind. This is one of the questions I asked in the surveys. So I'd love to kind of just get a sense of where this audience is as well. So Fernando is putting in the poll, and you can kind of
I can add the question.
okay. So give on your second, and then you can think about how would you rate how familiar you're with generative AI tools like ChatGPT, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being least familiar and 5 being extremely very familiar. So give it a second. I see some people are voting in the Q&A. Just wait a little bit. We'll have a poll set up for you so we can see the numbers. It'll be quite, I'm curious to see.
You guys can start voting.
Okay. All right.
I don't know whether I'm sharing the poll.
I can see it.
Okay, great.
Okay. So almost, yeah, 76% of you have voted. And this is quite interesting. So it looks like it leans towards a more familiar side. So it's over midpoint. So interesting. So hold that, and I will share with you my survey results. All right. Yeah. So we can probably end this now. I'll end it. Right. If you can see the audience, a third of you think, you're very familiar with it. Most of you, almost half of you are neutral, and a quarter, maybe 20, almost 20% of you not that familiar. Good. All right. The reason I ask is because I asked a question like this in the surveys. So in the first survey, 6 months after ChatGPT came out, was, I would say, below moderate self-rated understanding of AI concepts and how familiar they are with generative AI tools. So out of 5, midpoint being 3, the mean score was 2.96 for their understanding, and how familiar they are with Gen AI tools. That's the question I asked you, is 2.71. So it's definitely below the midpoint. And from the survey, what I got from it really is that there was a really notable demand for training on these AI concepts, AI tools and applications, and also addressing privacy ethical concerns. At that point, about a third of them have participated in any forms of training and professional development. I meant it in a really broad way, like attending a webinar like this one would be considered some kind of professional development. So only a third of them have done that. And that was a really strong emphasis on the urgency of addressing ethical and privacy issues, with 74% of the participants agreeing that this is extremely urgent, and it highlights the need for guidance or guidelines, basically. So some other key findings, which is quite interesting. So I mentioned that about a third of them have participated in any kind of training. So, and you can see that those who have participated in training, so a little bit, higher understanding or higher familiarity with these AI tools, with 5%, 5.5% higher, and 15% higher. And remember, I asked you that question earlier about, using, do you pay for the premium tools of these, premium versions of these tools? And the reason I ask is because from the survey, people who pay for these have a much higher understanding of AI concepts and how familiar with AI tools, 23% higher, 40% higher than the people who did not pay for it. And only 8% of the people pay for it. So it's consistent with, our percentage here too. And of course, there could be many factors on why that's the case. Because, people who pay for it, they're probably much more interested in it, or they have, higher understanding to begin with, or they found usage of it for work. And using it more generally will lead to, how familiar they are and understanding too. So that could be many factors, but this is just an interesting finding. In comparing the first and the second survey a year apart, of course, there's a little bit of increase in understanding in their AI tools usage, but it's interesting to see that first year, only 8% of the people pay for premium tools. Second year, 18, almost 19%, so more than double of the people are started paying for the subscription of these tools, and a lot more people are participating in any kind of training. 66% versus 34% in the first year. Also, we asked them about perception. A larger majority agreeing that AI has the potential to significantly benefit library operations. So people have a more positive perception of AI as well. I ask about, because I want to develop training programs, right? So I kind of want to learn more about what are some of the barriers to people learning or using AI. So I'm not going to go through everything, I mean, but there are some interesting findings, like access to tools I mentioned, right? Using premium tools. So people talk about limited availability of these advanced AI tools, particularly in institutions without institutional subscriptions. So this hinders the full engagement with this new technology, relying on the more limited, the free versions. Also, knowledge gaps. I mentioned that people, I define trainings at this point very broadly. Any kind of trainings, just watching a YouTube video, I would consider that a training as well. So, but there's a lack of structured training, leading to self-directed learning. So the impact is fragmented knowledge, reduced confidence in tool use. Time constraints is a huge one. We're all super busy. We have our work to do. How do we take time out to learn a new tool in addition to doing our work, right? So, so the impact is AI literacy would take a backseat to the more immediate tasks that we have to do. So that slows our skill development. Institutional issues. Not every institution, not every leader is supportive or think positively about AI. So that would create another barrier. So and then personally too, a lot of people have some kind of personal reluctance, technological anxiety, resistance to change. And some people prefer using more familiar methods over learning new technologies. So this causes avoidance and delays in skill development. So so these are the main key insights from the two surveys. We need comprehensive and layered training. And the training needs to take a more context-sensitive approach. People want hands-on experience with these AI tools. Real-world tool usage should be a part of the learning. And people want, collaborative communities of practice to learn with each other because it is so new. We need support systems to address implementation readiness. Concerns are vital to realizing these benefits. So with all of that, I developed some upskilling programs at my college. We had the pilot one was last summer, 2023. We pay for the subscription fees for at that point GPT-4 basically of ChatGPT. So we call it the GPT-4 Exploration Program. We want to apply adult learning principles, and it's kind of aligned with a lot of the things we learned from the surveys, including the barriers. Adults, we learn differently than children or just students in the classroom. So here's some of the things we need to pay attention to. Self-paced, flexible learning, we juggle multiple responsibilities, work, family, personal commitments. So we want it to be flexible and more self-paced learning so we can fit it into our busy schedule. And then collaborative learning. We talked about communities of practice, and adults learn best in social contexts where we can share knowledge, ask questions, discuss, real-world applications with our peers. So it's also good for networking and mentorship opportunities as well. Which is important for professional growth. Learning by doing. We prefer learning that's experiential and immediately applicable to our real life tasks and responsibilities. So either learning by doing or hands-on learning means that we actively engage with tools and concepts and practicing them in a meaningful way rather than just passively receiving information. And also practical immediate relevance. I'm sorry, I just got distracted. Maybe just to make sure you can all see my slides.
No, Dr. Lowe, we cannot see the slides.
You cannot see the slides?
No.
Oh. Let me stop sharing and start sharing again.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of people see that they can see the slides.
Okay, great. Great. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Get me from
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know. So final one, practical immediate relevance. So we are more motivated to learn when we can see the direct impact of the new skills or knowledge. So we value trainings as very immediately applicable to our professional roles. So with all these, we developed the GPT-4 exploration program. We selected 10 volunteers from different units of the college. So my college includes the university press, the libraries, and a learning sciences program. So not just the libraries, but most people from the libraries. All the participants had very different levels of interest and different AI knowledge. Some were very enthusiastic about AI. Some were actually quite skeptical, which I liked about that group. And we pay for the subscription fees of GPT-4 for the participants. So here's the structure. It's a 12-week program in the summer. Phase 1, couple of weeks. At that point, there weren't a lot of training videos. So we try to find whatever we can find to learn a little bit more about ChatGPT. We watch a lot, tutorials. We pay for, I think there's one called ChatGPT Bootcamp, especially for librarians. So we pay for that for the group to watch. And then we met to share initial ideas on how to incorporate this new tool into the participants' work, in their direct work. So they have to basically design a project that they will use for their work. So they're not taking additional time out to do other things. We want them to use it directly in the work that they're going to do anyways. So phase 2, 8 weeks, it's exploration, experimentation. So they will have their individual projects designed by them and using GPT to do it, basically address challenges and kind of explore different opportunities. We have bi-weekly, every other week, we will meet as a group, and I'll be the facilitator for them to share what they've done, challenges, tips, good prompts that they have used, or concerns. And I gave them a template to document their experiences, including successes, failures. Like I say, if you have some good prompts that gave you some really unexpected or surprisingly good or bad output, write them down and things like that. So they have a record of what they've done. And then finally, the final 2 weeks, evaluation and sharing. We have participants present their projects and findings to the group, and then we have the whole group present to the college, focusing on the impact of GPT on their work, and potential applications in other ways as well. And we collected feedback from the participants. We did a pre and post program surveys and looking for ways to improve. So here are some of the individual projects. The person from UNM Press, explore AI in publishing, basically using it to synthesize a large amount of text to write abstract. One person developed a machine-readable data management plan to help research faculty to write grants, because they all need to have a data management plan in their grant proposals. Investigating hallucinations. One reference librarian used GPT to mine all the chat records to develop FAQs and then compare to our own human-created FAQs. My assistant loved it the most. He used it to do a lot of administrative tasks like calendaring, scheduling, taking meeting notes. Another person tried to train GPT to learn metadata creation. So a variety of things that we use it for. Some outcomes. So we did a pre-program survey And the average rating of, some of these understanding or familiarity with the tools is quite low, 2.36 out of 5, lower than the national average. But then after the program, it's come up quite a bit at 54% increase. That's quite a big jump. So we were very encouraged by that. And some of these are the testimonials of, what people said after the program. This program changed AI from a threat into a collaborator. I gained confidence in using AI to enhance my daily work rather than replace it. The freedom to experiment made AI less intimidating. Key learnings, hands-on experimentation, increased comfort with AI, prompt practice, build critical skills, and really the tailor projects amplify engagement. But also a lot of challenges. We're all very unsure about data privacy. What can we upload to it? What can we not? At that point, I think they just added that option for us to not, or before they added that option for us to not use our data for training purposes for the paid version. So at that point, we were not sure. Prompt engineering is difficult, but also essential. And then we all realized AI really lacks subject expertise. We need to know to look at what we're getting and have some kind of ways to verify it, preferably because of our, having our own expertise. That will make it a lot easier. So we're expanding it now. We did it last summer within our college. This summer, we have an AI for teaching, GPT-4 for teaching faculty, AI for research. We subscribe to a app called Sites.ai for faculty wanting to use AI for literature review. And also, we have an AI for OER, open educational resources for people interested in experimenting using AI to develop and enhance OER. And Inside Higher Ed wrote an article on that. We actually paid faculty a stipend to do it so that they can help us write OER guidebook, basically, adding case studies to a chapter on AI. And next semester, I will be leading a cohort for academic advising. So because a lot of people are saying that we're only focusing on faculty and students, and we're not, upskilling our staff. So I want to do that for our academic advisors to use AI for their work. So to wrap up, here are some of the next steps. ACRL, I have set up a AI competency for library workers task force. So we're developing a set of the most basic but essential AI competencies for our library workers. And we're hoping to unveil that at the ACRL conference next spring. We have also set up a ACRL AI discussion group. And you don't have to be an ACRL member or a ALA member to join. So I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. And also, if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me and follow me there. I share a lot of stuff there. Also, I also get a lot of really great updates on AI or other professional news there. So LinkedIn is a great way. So I'm going to put the links in the chat. At this point, I thank you for listening. I will be happy to answer any questions that you have and hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Loh. I will read out the questions. I guess one of the attendees tried to activate the chat in Zoom question. He tried it on ChatGPT and he says it's wrong. And